I have enough instructions up here.
Did you bring them?
All right, council members, how you doing? We have the legal department here, and with the legal department, we have Mr. Saul Solomon, Director of Law, Mr. Mike Safely, the Deputy Director, and Ms. Karen Carver, the Administrative Assistant. Before we begin your presentation, Mr. Solomon, just want to ask, are you satisfied with the mayor's budget proposal for your department?
Well, despite the fact we are one of the departments that did take a 2% cut, I would say that yes, we are satisfied nevertheless.
Thank you. You could continue with your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. So I've been director a little over a year now, and I continue to be extremely impressed with both the quality of the staff and the work they do, as well as the efficiency and the relatively low cost that we incur in representing Metro. We are busy. We had well over 1,000 new matters in terms of legal advice and opinions, and 450 new actual lawsuits that came in fiscal 2013 to date. Running Nashville, as we all know, is a fairly complex business, and with running a complex business, we have complex legal issues. And it gets more complex every day. Nevertheless, we do find ways to be more efficient, as I mentioned earlier. In fact, since last year, we have dropped our staffing by 2 people. And we're hopeful that will be permanent. So it's about 5% of our personnel. We were out 1 retired, we did not replace it. 2 retired, and we did not replace the positions. We combined positions. As I said before, we are one of the few that were blessed with the 2%, and we certainly believe that we can live within that. There are a couple of a couple of icebergs out there in the waterways. We are getting very young. 8 of our staff attorneys out of approximately 28 are what we call attorney ones, which are our younger attorneys. And there are pluses and minuses in getting more junior. On the pluses, obviously, get a lot of new blood, a lot of enthusiasm, and they have to listen to me. So it's excellent for me in that regard. On the negative side, a little bit less experience, and there is going to be a time we're going to have to pay for this, because people, as they advance their career, will advance with attorney 2s and then attorney 3s. So there is this bubble out there waiting, hopefully, for the next law director, who's going to have to deal with that in terms of the law budget. That's really the bulk of my comments. I'm extremely proud of the work that our staff does, and I'm truly honored to be the law director. And really, thanks for all your help this past year, as you had adjusted to me and I've been adjusting to you. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. Councilman Tiger.
Saul, thanks for being here. This is probably as good a place as any to talk in theory about the impact of no incremental pay for your department in the ability to attract talented new blood. I'm assuming what you're saying without incremental pay, until you have a position available to promote someone from legal 1 to legal 2 or whatever the terminology is, basically they're waiting for any pay increase that the mayor and this body approve without any guaranteed incremental pay increases. Am I correct in that analysis?
That's correct, but I think most of them, and Mike help me out here, I think most of them are open range, so increments officially wouldn't apply to them, but the concept is correct.
Explain to me and the rest of us the open range concept as opposed to the normal employee.
As I understand it, as I understand it, there are certain positions that there are fixed increments for, and so either it's every year or every 2 years, depending on what your status is and what your position is. In the open range, those set increments do not exist, and basically the salary is set each year according to what the budget is, and if there's an increase, it'll be a general increase of the open range people. So that's generally how it works.
So the icebergs that you talked about in terms of that level of experience, is the danger at some point you simply have too many young, new, inexperienced lawyers to handle the complexity of the cases that are directed your way?
It's two things. One is that we can either begin to churn people, and once they've been here 3 years, if we can't promote them, then they'll probably go look elsewhere. And we can just continue to churn at that low level, which I don't think is a good thing for the government. Or we're going to have to promote those people because they've worked extremely hard, and now they're really good lawyers. And to continue to pay them as junior lawyers just wouldn't be fair to them. So
Sure.
that's what I'm talking about.
So my question for Rich or Greg is, we're talking about a compensation study and whatnot. Will this be one of the topics that will be discussed?
All employees, yes, it's everyone's.
I assume that was the case, but obviously that, this is a concern because maybe we find some brilliant mind who doesn't want to settle a lawsuit. And inside joke there. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, Councilman Tiger. Councilman Stein.
Thank you. In the discussions at the school board, when they were contemplating continuing their fight with the state, they were talking about hiring special counsel. Your department represents them regularly, correct?
Yes.
And my question, that's the background for my question. Are there any instances currently where parts of the government are using special counsel? And if so, what is the criteria for hiring special counsel and not using you all?
Okay, let me try to answer that question like this. First of all, most of the government departments who we represent on all matters.
Right.
Okay. The school board has the authority, according to Attorney General's opinion, which is about 2 sentences long, to hire outside counsel if they want to. And at times, either because they feel they want a little bit more oomph and a bigger name, or they feel that there is a perceived conflict because, for example, one part of the administration might believe one thing, the school board might be taking another position. They believe that it might be difficult for the law department to represent them all the way down the line. One could bicker and argue with that, but I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. There are some governmental departments or units that we do not represent, and among those are MTA, MDHA, the Airport Authority. Mike, have I missed any? Oh yeah, NES. So.
And those all budget for their own lawyers within
Correct.
that. And if the school board were to hire outside counsel, they would pay for that. That doesn't come from general operating funds.
That's correct.
So it currently within the government, within the general government, there's currently no situations where there are special counsel. Let me ask this in a general way. If we ever hire special counsel, does that increase the budget, or is it budgeted for? Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Councilman Stein. Council Lady Allen.
It's in there are funds. Okay, this isn't part of the operating budget for the law department, but it's part of the judgments, losses, legal fees. There are funds that we can tap into for that, and typically we will have. I wouldn't say control over that, but we have a say in who gets hired, and we sort of look over it, as long as there's no real active conflict.
Council Lady Allen.
I'm just looking at your internal service fees, which are $137,000, and the other two departments have been in the $600,000 and $700,000. You have similar numbers of people. What's your secret, or is there a difference there that you could explain?
Mike and I always turn our lights out when we leave the office for more than 20 minutes. It's something that.
Hold on, Rich.
Look, it would
C4, is that where that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, it would show by department what they're being charged for.
Okay.
Budget area, ITS is computers, IT stuff. BOSS is building operations. Fleet is fleet, postal, radio. So it kind of lays out what it is. And so legal, I don't know what, IT probably, assessor probably has much larger IT charges than legal would. I'm
Maybe
not
cars.
without looking at that. So that's the reason why the numbers are so different.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Lady Allen. Councilor Berry.
Thank you, Chair. You mentioned, Mr. Solomon, that there is a separate fund out there that we pay out of when we're settling cases. Do you have any idea how much we paid out last year in settlements, what the total number was?
I can get you that number. I don't believe we have that currently.
Okay. And do you anticipate, I mean, is that number fairly constant over the years? Do we anticipate a bigger number this year?
Mr. Safley, would you like to answer the question?
It's generally pretty
You could use the mic. Yeah.
It is generally pretty constant. There's a subsidy that's put into the funds each year, and that remains constant. And the funds are going down some. It would be helpful if they could have a little more push to them. But from year to year, it's generally pretty much the same.
Okay. Thank you.
at the budget ordinance, which is like page of the budget ordinance, there'll be a line item for judgment and losses and things like that, so you can see how much money is going in there when you get a moment.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Councilor Berry. Councilman Holloman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to follow up on the issue of the salaries. And it says in your notes that there is a decline in experience, and I'm just curious as to whether you think you're at the level that you need to recruit, lateral attorneys, or whether it's more of a pay plan issue that you need to plan for to retain lawyers that you have currently, or if you've really assessed that at this point.
That's a good question. And one thing that Mike and I have talked about when we've had a couple of positions open, we actually have gone to the outside to look and to see what's out there, and especially in a couple of litigation positions. And then what we found was that we felt that the internal candidate just was stronger. People want to work for Metro for reasons obviously other than compensation. Sure. But you just don't want to take too much advantage of that. I would like us to be a little bit more seasoned, but finding that right person is difficult. Although my predecessor did a great job bringing a couple people in at more senior levels for just amazing additions to the department.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Holloman. And Councilman Dominic.
Thank you, Chairman. I just had a couple questions, follow up on Charlie's line of questions about the step increases. Can you identify the number of employees in your department that would have qualified for a step increase over the last 4 years, and what it might cost to restore those in the budget?
That mic in front of you is on.
Oh, is it? Okay. We only have, up until the retirement incentive, we had 4 employees that would be on step increases. We now have 3. They would have been in positions, 2 of them I think were topped out. And 2, Karen would have been, yes. And 2 of them would have been eligible for step increases. So honestly, for our department, the people that were eligible for step increases, it would not be a significant amount because they had been there for a lengthy period of time and were close to being topped out. Now, those that did not receive it, they might view it a little bit differently. But 3% like Karen's been 1 step away from being topped out now for 5 years. She just can't quite get there.
Well, if you could get me the information as to what the cost would be, I'm going to ask that of the departments just so we can get a running total as this moves forward. I'd just like to know what the cost would be per department to add those back. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Mitchell.
Yeah, Mr. Solomon, does your office represent in any form or fashion the school board?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so you would give legal counsel to the school board?
Yes, we will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Mitchell. Seeing no other Councilman Duval.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you explain the difference in what shows non-program revenue property taxes and why it fluctuates so much and why it's at 25.7 this year and the previous budget was 135.3? And The numbers seem to be all over the board. I'm looking at page D31. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong place.
So, hold on a second, we're taking a look, Councilman.
Where's he talking? Could you? So, property tax, here it is. 30 years, this is what he's talking about, property tax, not program revenue. I don't know why it's 25, what do you get, monthly on those? What do you get on property tax? Is that this is where we, up and down? It's the costs that they're expended and the recovery. Recovery of. Yeah.
It's the difference, right?
Get back to it. Councilman, we'll have to get back with you in reference to the reduction. Are you looking at the line 25.7?
That's correct. That's an increase in budget on property taxes. I'm not sure I understand that. And if you look at 109.6 versus 135.3, we took that kind of an increase in property taxes on metro property.
No, this is not property tax. This
Says property taxes.
I understand, but it falls into that category. But this has to do with the efforts and the expenses that are used for the trying to pursue back tax, and the expenses, and then the recovery of fees back from those. So that's the category, or that's what generates that particular column. I don't know that I can explain it.
You've explained it exactly. I do understand now. Thank you.
Well, good. I didn't know I was that good.
Thank you, Councilman Duvall. Also, just for council members, if you do have specific budgetary items that you need explanations for and we can't get you immediate answers, there are finance staff that are located in the committee rooms that are available for council members to answer questions also. Council Member Bedney.
Thank you, Chairman. I just was wondering, it's not a question to the legal department. Is the books online already? I mean, for the people who are following on Channel 3, I wanted to know if they could access when we have questions like that.
The budget book is online, Council.
Okay, thanks.
Councilmember Bedney. Thank you. All right, seeing no other council members in queue, I would like to thank the legal department for coming today.
Our honor. Thank you.
Thank you.